Hello. Welcome. I don't know if there's anybody here today, but I'm sure that some people will probably watch the VOD eventually. Let's see. How is the audio looking? Looks fine to me. Alright. So today... Oh wait, we do have someone here. Hello, welcome. Oops. I'm clicking all the wrong buttons. Alright, yeah, today we're doing the very special monster showcase for Leaf's DRODyssey. Yes, hello, Sia. Welcome. You can hear me? Excellent. Cool. So yeah, what's the plan for today? I'm going to dive into this showcase. I'm going to be showing you all of the, or at least a good chunk of the implemented interactions. I don't know if I'll show all of them because I probably can't go through like every single entity here, and I also will probably forget some, but I'll try and show as many as I can. I might show a little bit of the small bit of Tower of Destiny in the main campaign. That's just going to be like the tutorial area. And then we'll be answering some questions. I do have a list of questions prepared from various sources. All the questions will be anonymous, so I won't be reading out any names there. But yeah, if you have any other questions that I don't get to today, then feel free to ask them, and I'll try and do my best to answer your questions live. So yeah, anyway, let's dive right into this thing. So this is the flying snakes. We also got Throw Rock playing in the background here. Yeah, I'm using Leaf's Odyssey music for this. And yeah, the flying snake basically moves the way that you would expect it to. It's nothing too special. Of course, the monsters in Leaf's Odyssey mostly tend to move orthogonally. Oops. But yeah, we're just starting with the flying snakes right now, and as you can see, yeah, they do actually fly. So if you put them over like a hot tile like this, they don't burn. They fly over pits. What's this? Oh yeah, I was messing around with like decoys. They aren't attracted by decoys. I actually don't really know how you would do that sort of thing. But none of the monsters interact with decoys. I'll get to more of the limitations later. They also aren't affected by stealth. Yeah, if you're walking through shallow water, they aren't affected by that. But yeah, they will fly over things like water. They will die on fire traps. Basically, they act a lot like Wraithwings, except they're way more intuitive to work with and reason with. So yeah, they don't die on spike traps, as you can see. And that's pretty much it for the flying snake. They are by far the easiest monster to implement, so there isn't really a whole lot to say about them. But that's just kind of how they work. All right. Oh, hello, Imaginatory. So the next monster I want to talk about is the Bomb Bug, and this one is probably the most complicated monster. But yeah, it basically works the way that you would expect. It will move in 4 directions. It takes 1 turn to turn towards you if you step in the same row or column as it. And of course, the bomb bug also must explode. That's a very important property. So if I get close to a bomb bug, it will explode, which can destroy things like briars. Another thing you can do is stab a bomb bug. Of course, that kills you. So I really wanted it to feel like Leaf's Odyssey. Like if you attack a bomb bug, well, it's going to retaliate and explode on you. So you kind of have to set it off if you want to actually get rid of it. So down here we have some lights. So these are supposed to be like the lampposts from Leaf's Odyssey. So the bomb bug can actually see through those. And you can see that it does change direction. So this is a way to have obstacles, sort of like windows, that the bomb bug can actually see through if you want to use something like that. That explodes. Bomb Bug does die on Poison Trail. And also, what do we have here? We have this cool chain explosion setup. So normally in DROD, entities have like a set turn order, and so if you were to like explode one bomb bug, it would kill another bomb bug, and then that one wouldn't be able to explode. But I've actually implemented a system that allows all these bomb bugs to chain explode. And so when you do this, it actually pushes the monster block onto the hot tile, and if we wait one turn, the monster block gets cooked. So yeah, that was a fun interaction to implement. And yeah, I will talk a little bit about some of those technical details a little bit later and how that works. So here's the Angry Eye. As you can see, if I step into its line of fire, it fires a laser beam. You might notice that the laser looks a little bit different from the trailer, and that's because in the trailer I was using the bolt effect, which comes from these orbs. So like if you hit an orb, it creates a little like lightning bolt effect. Let me just show that real quick. Yeah, so I was using that for the lasers before, but I kind of like these lasers a little bit better because, you know, it looks a little bit more accurate to the actual game. They don't have like the alpha transparency because I basically had to choose between like, do I want it to be like animated or do I want it to have the transparency effect? But yeah, I decided to just go with the opaque lasers because I think this just looks better. So yeah, Angry Eyes, pretty straightforward. They look at you, they shoot at you. Let's see, what else do we have here? Angry Eyes can shoot each other. So this is an interaction that, again, is sort of like the bomb bug explosions. So that's not something that really works when you just have entities that attack in a certain order and they attack each other. And so, yeah, these lasers, the Angry Eyes will shoot each other here, which is really cool. Another interaction that I implemented was sightline blocking. So let's just turn our sword here, but yeah, if you have a rock giant, actually wait, hold on. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not good at DROD, but rock giants do block sightlines. How do I show that? Oh yeah, here. So this Angry Eye should be able to see me, but the rock giant blocks the sightline there. There's actually a very interesting little quirk about how that works related to DROD script that I can talk about a little bit later. But yeah, another interaction I have here is if the eyes shoot the rock giant, yeah, it breaks apart like so. These little rock golems will also block sightlines. One thing that is kind of interesting here is that the lasers actually destroy rubble piles. That's not true for statues. I will cover that when we talk about statues, but for regular rock golems, they do destroy the rubble piles. And the reason for this is actually sort of a technical limitation. There isn't a way to actually detect a rock golem pile. Like, this is considered a separate kind of entity. So I can't actually detect this as a wall. And for some reason, that entity isn't in like the list of entities. So I actually have no idea how I would ever check for this. The eyes would always be able to see me through this. The lasers will always be able to shoot through this. So I figured, well, if the lasers are going to shoot through the rubble anyway, I might as well, you know, give them a little more something there. So they actually just destroy the rubble piles. I should also say that this script here for the laser is based on the ray gun script. So it has a lot of the same properties. Basically, it has an explosive property, so that's why it also is able to shoot through things like briars. It explodes bombs. It's actually a little bit more complicated than the ray gun script, because the ray gun script actually is very incomplete in terms of like wall checking. Like, you're allowed to shoot through certain walls, like hard walls, for example. There are a lot of things that the ray gun script doesn't consider walls, and there's actually a good reason for that that I'll probably talk about a little bit later. But anyway, here's rock golems blocking sightlines. Again, the rubble does not block sightlines because there's no way to do that, but I can at least... Oh, right. Constructs move that way. So construct, also, same sort of deal. Its rubble also gets destroyed by the laser. Yeah, not a whole lot I could do about that, so I figured, you know, that's probably good enough. Oh yeah, the reason why I had this eye, I forgot about that. Also, yeah, you can see undo is a little bit laggy. There's a lot of scripting. If I shoot to the east here, the angry eye does activate the orb here, so it acts like a toggle switch. Angry eyes also, oops, let's not do that. Angry eyes also shoot through tar, which I think is really cool. So you can just like clear an entire row of tar stuff. It's just like the ray gun, so nothing too special there. But the other interaction that I want to talk about is this one. So this is a suggestion that I got from a couple people. So particularly, I think, yeah, it was, I asked a hypothetical a little while back on, I think one of the Queen of Treasure Isle streams and on also one of the Pat's World streams. And I asked about if you were to encounter an angry eye in a dark alley and you happen to have a mirror on you, would the angry eye laser destroy the mirror, or would it go through the mirror? Would it reflect off the mirror? And basically everyone said it should reflect off of the mirror. Yes, it also shoots through mud. I will answer more of your questions later. I'll get to the questions at the end. I just want to showcase the monsters first. So, yeah, if you fire at a mirror, the mirror reflects the laser, and that's actually super cool. This interaction was actually kind of tricky to implement, but I think it was totally worth it. I actually really like this one. So if you want, you can totally shoot a monster that is behind the angry eye by using a mirror. This doesn't cause like an infinite bouncing effect. Like the next turn they do disappear. That's for performance reasons, because there was an original version where the laser would just perpetually stay there and just infinitely bounce between the two mirrors. That started to lag the game really badly. So I decided, no, let's just leave it as it is, especially once you start building up more lasers. But I actually really like this this laser mirror interaction. I think that's super cool. So yeah, that's Angry Eyes. And now we have statues. So one thing that I want to note is that you are allowed to place just plain statue rubble. That was something that I implemented by just like setting the orientation for the statue to south. So if you place a statue and it's any other orientation, then it'll just come out as an actual statue like this. What else? Yeah, so you can see that if I step in front of the statue, it wakes up, it moves towards me. I can like step around. If I hit it, it turns into rubble. The way that rubble works here is kind of tricky. I know there was like a thread on the architecture boards asking about like how do you do like golem rubble, and like there weren't like any good answers. There still aren't any good answers. I just kind of took the approach that Nuntar suggested there. So this is a very incomplete implementation, but this does work, assuming that Beethro has a sword in his hands, and yeah, you can actually have a statue just turn into rubble if it gets stabbed, which I think is really cool. The other thing that you should notice is that these statues don't see me. So yeah, statues do act as sightline blockers for other statues. That was another interaction that is from Leaf's Odyssey that I wanted to make sure was very accurate. Statues push blocks, and as you can see, if it pushes a block or a monster block onto poison, it will immediately poison it. Statues also clean up poison, just like in Leaf's Odyssey. And here's something really fun that I contemplated this for a while. I was like, well, you know, like in DROD, you've got shallow water, right? You've got shallow water, you've got deep water, and normally, you know, if you want to make stepping stones in water, you have to use like the shallow water. And so I originally implemented it as just having shallow water instead of deep water. But yeah, this is just deep water here that the statue wades through, and you can create stepping stones in deep water. And I thought this would be a little bit more accurate to Leaf's Odyssey, because in Leaf's Odyssey, there's a water tile there, but you can't actually step into it, right? Like, you can step into shallow water as Beethro. And I think you could make the argument that, oh, but Beethro's taller than a ferret, so, like, you know, that would make sense. But I thought mechanically, it'd just be more interesting if I just use deep water instead of shallow water. So yeah, that's why deep water is used for creating stepping stones. If you bring a statue through shallow water, it just walks over it. And if you destroy a statue on shallow water, it turns into a rubble pile and not a stepping stone. So I'm basically kind of assuming that the statue is a little bit taller. It can create a little bit more rubble. Anyway, other things to note about the statue here before we move on. Well, I have to undo a whole bunch apparently. Ooh, very laggy. Yeah, that is one thing about these elements. They are very laggy. Yeah, so on the topic of being able to push things, they don't push mirrors and they don't push powder kegs. I actually don't know why this is. I thought that they would just be able to do this, but they apparently can't do that. Which is weird because I've set the base monster type for the statue to well, what is it? It's a construct. So constructs can push objects normally. The statue cannot for some reason. I don't know if maybe it needs to like step on like a power token or something to do that. But I didn't see a way of doing that. So yeah, they unfortunately can't push those objects. I don't know why. I would consider that a bug, but I also don't think there's anything I can do about it. Anyway, how do pits and statues work in terms of turn order? Very good question. So as you can probably guess, I did implement this behavior. This was one that I was considering not implementing because I was just like, this is so much extra work for very little gain. Like, I don't know how many people are gonna use or encounter this behavior. So if you push it from head on, obviously that's not going to work. There also used to be a dropping animation for the block with the sound effect. That had to go because of a bug. This is the bug in question, by the way. It used to be if I did this, the block would hover here on this pit for an extra turn, and then you could like rescue the block, sort of, but then it would die on the turn after in like a blood splatter, and it just looked really weird and wrong, and I didn't want that. So yeah, right now it just disappears. I can add a sound effect later. That has to do with the way that the imperative die command works. It has some additional side effects that apparently cause it to not work if you move an entity on the same turn as you call imperative die. I don't know why that is, but if you do an attack tile kill instead, that works. Why? I don't know. DROD script. So yeah, the other thing I want to note is that if you step here to the northwest, the block still falls in the pit. It doesn't get pushed by the statue. And this is actually accurate to Leaf's Odyssey too, because when you see that, this is the adventurer weird block pushing mechanic, but when you see that happening, the statue only does pushes in the directions it attempts to move in. So because I'm directly south of the statue right now, it's not even going to attempt to move southwest or southeast or any other direction. It's only going to attempt to move south, so it only would push a block if I pushed it into this space here. But yeah, obviously if it's blocked by the sword, it can't land on the platform, so yeah, that doesn't happen. And if I push from way over here, it's trying to move southeast, so it's not going to do a push onto that tile. So yeah, this is one of those really weird niche interactions of the statue that I did implement. And I hate myself for doing this, as I was like, I don't have to really do this, do I? Like, who's gonna use that? Does it really matter? But I decided I want it to be as accurate as I possibly can make it, because that's kind of the whole point of the project, right? The monsters don't feel like they're from Leaf's Odyssey if they're not mechanically accurate. So yeah, that's that's how that works. Once again, you can see that statues will block sight lines here. This was actually a little bit trickier to implement than I thought, because move order actually kind of matters here. Let me just showcase what that kind of looks like here. So normally, like, something that moves later in the move order here, I don't know which one moves later. This one does. What was happening before, and this was a bug that is now fixed, the later move order would cause this statue to still wake up, but then I realized later, when I was playing Leaf's Odyssey, that wait, that's not how that works at all. And the move order shouldn't matter. And so I had to re-implement, I had to like basically re-architect a bunch of the project just to allow that to happen. So yeah, that's, that'll allow you to make stuff like, I don't remember the names of the puzzles, but there are several puzzles in Leaf's Odyssey that use that property. Angry eyes and statues also interact in a similar way. So angry eyes will shoot statues and turn them into rubble. As you can see, they don't destroy rubble. This statue can block the angry eyes sight lines. So that behaves as you would expect. And that's pretty much it for the statues. Next we have the slug. The slug is actually a really interesting one because there isn't really that much to say about it, and yet it is also one of the hardest monsters to implement for just generally more technical and performance reasons. But yeah, slugs will die on hot coals, or not hot tiles. The slugs do kiss, so when they meet each other, they stop moving. I can also redirect slugs if I want with my sword, so that's cool. One thing that doesn't work though is speed potions. For some reason, they just don't leave any poison behind once you use a speed potion. I don't know why this is. Actually, I do kind of know why this is. But yeah, this is not really great. I wouldn't recommend using slugs with speed potions if you're playing with this element. But yeah, there you go. That's slugs. They create a lot of lag, but mostly because of the poison trail. So yeah, this is an element that I don't really know if I'll use very much at all. And if I do use them, they'll probably be used very sparingly or in very limited areas. Because yeah, creating a whole bunch of poison entities everywhere just kind of sucks. As you saw earlier, the poison does kill other monsters like roaches. So yeah, you can use Poison Trail as like a trap for other monsters. But otherwise, slugs are fairly straightforward, I think. And now we get to everyone's favorite monster that isn't really a monster, the monster block. So monster blocks do turn into push blocks, as you've seen from the trailer, if I put them on hot tiles. I'm very, very used to calling them hot coals. Oh geez, yeah, and the lag. Lots of lag from monster blocks. Monster blocks are a very laggy element. Of course, if you push a block into deep water, it's just like the statue. I wanted it to behave the same consistently across all the monsters, so yeah, deep water is what you would use for killing, for creating stepping stones. Here's the shallow water example, so it just sits on the shallow water. This is actually something interesting here. So you'll see that I push the block onto the hot tile, and my sword is inside the tile. What used to happen in early versions of the monster block was the block would just disappear. And the reason for that is because the generate entity function does not allow you to generate an entity on top of your sword. So what would happen is it would wait for Vito to step away, and then it would spawn the entity. But you could also just like walk through that tile, which was kind of a problem because it just broke a lot of puzzles. So yeah, that was something I had to fix. That was a little bit tricky. Kind of annoying, had to do a bit of a workaround for that. But yeah, you can push blocks around like this. It's kind of cool. Here's a bomb bug moving between 4 different monster blocks. So yeah, bomb bugs are scared by monster blocks. This is a case that is actually inaccurate to the base game, but according to Alex, this is actually the correct behavior. So normally, if you're playing Leafs Odyssey on the current version of the game, if you step in front of this monster block here, the tie-breaking rules for bomb bugs will have it step west instead of east. But if you were to put a push block here instead, or just remove the monster block entirely, the bomb bug behaves the way that you see here. It would tie-break by stepping east instead of west. So I decided to do the more accurate thing and just have it always step east instead of sometimes stepping west. But yeah, this is a case where the mod actually tries to behave a little bit better than the actual game does, and yeah, you can see that. It just runs away from the monster blocks. So yeah, it's pretty accurate. Yeah, it prioritizes fleeing over walking towards B-throw. You can block the sight line, and it'll step towards you. All these interactions were kind of tricky to implement, but yeah, I think I did a pretty good job of at least making it accurate. So there you go. So yeah, that's sight lines, that's sightline blocking, etc. Here is the one interaction that I am most proud of. It is, of course, teleportation incantation. So if I step here and I activate this, or if I prime this bomb bug and I step away, there you go. The push block will go. Let me just back that up one turn here. So what happens is this explosion goes off and it chains into these other bomb bugs, and so this bomb bug will push this block north, then this explosion will go off, which will push it northwest, then this explosion will eventually go off, and it'll push it northeast, and so this bomb bug crosses the gap. So there you go. That's how you do teleportation incantation shenanigans in Leafs DRODyssey. And yeah, I would love to re-add the animations for bomb bugs falling in, or sorry, monster blocks falling into pits, but currently that does not work. Yeah, I did show that one to you, CF, in private, because I was really proud of having been able to actually come up with that. And also, I should hold on, let me just restart the room here. If I blow it up from the other side, then the order of the explosions is different, and so the monster block doesn't make it across the gap. And that is also accurate to the game. So like this explosion goes off too early, which means that when it does this explosion and then this explosion, there isn't an explosion left here to push it here. So yeah, the order does matter. But yeah, again, trying to make it as accurate as possible to the actual Leafs Odyssey game. And so yeah, let me just quickly test something here. Let's make sure that everything still works. Because one thing that you might have noticed in certain rooms is that in the top right corner, you'll see that the wall there is slightly thicker. There is a good reason for that I will show off very quickly here, if I can get to this last monster block. So I'm gonna dump this last monster block in the pit, but Death Controller 3 is here. So this is what determines whether or not the room is cleared, because you can't mark a monster as a required target and also invulnerable at the same time. These are mutually exclusive conditions. And so I had to make a workaround for that. This basically has just like a counter of all the enemies, and anytime a monster dies, that counter decrements, and if the counter hits 0, then this thing just dies. And so because it's dead, the room is considered clear. That's just a completely transparent but visible, technically, monster. So if you could reach it with your sword, you would be able to kill it. There wasn't a lot I could do about that, sadly. That's just a property of how DROD script works. So yeah, I have to kind of hide this invisible monster inside of the walls in order to make certain interactions work. All right, I will answer some questions now, since I see a lot more questions than I was expecting. Let me go through them. Hold on. Actually, I can pull them up here on my phone. I don't have to like hop between windows. Alright. Do multiple explosions push something multiple times in one turn, like an LO? Yes. I did show that off already. How does pit and statue turn order work here? I think I showed that off as well. Does it drop trapdoors? Ah, that's a great question. Do statues drop trapdoors? Well, they have the construct property, so yes, they should drop trapdoors. But let me actually demonstrate that, because yeah, I completely forgot about that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so statues drop trapdoors as expected. They also drop these water trapdoors as expected. Yeah. So that's statues and trapdoors. Let's see, any other questions? All right. Those are all the questions that I see in chat right now. So yeah, that's the monsters in their entirety, I think. Let me see, are there any other interactions I didn't show? I have a list here. Let's see. I did explosion chaining with multi-push. I did statues pushing blocks over pits. Angry Eyes can shoot each other. Angry Eyes shoot bomb bugs and explode them. Did I show Angry Eyes and bomb bugs? I don't think I did. Let's show Angry Eyes and bomb bugs real quick. Bomb bug. There you are. Also, we can put some rubble here. So if we put a statue... Also, you'll notice that it takes a while for me to open this menu. This menu takes like a full second for me to open now. For good reason. There's a lot of code. And when there's a lot of code, that's what happens. Yeah. So bomb bugs do explode. They destroy the rubble if the Angry Eye shoots the bomb bug. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Actually, I don't know if that interaction is accurate. Is that a bug? Should the laser go through the rubble, or should it stop at the rubble? I'm gonna have to test this later, because I feel like the explosion should happen later in the turn than the laser. And the laser should go through. Actually, no, I think the laser checking happens first. So the laser sees... right, the laser should see the rubble first, and then it should be stopped by that. But then the bomb bug blows up afterwards, destroying the rubble. I think that's correct. I don't know. These things are, yeah, these are the kinds of questions I have to ask myself like every day as I work on this project. Attacking bomb bugs does explode them. I showed that off. Statues turn into rubble when attacked, yes. Bomb bugs flee from monster blocks and tie break correctly. I-beams reflect off of mirrors. I-beams pierce tar stuff. Poison trail can be mopped up by statues and it will kill other monsters. Statues block sight lines. Statue rubble can be destroyed by bomb bugs, and statue movement. Ah, yes, I didn't actually show off the statue movement. I should do that. Let me get to those questions in a second here. So we've got a bunch of statues here. And normally when you step south here, there would be vertical preference, right? And the statue should move south, but this is Leaf's Odyssey rules. There is no vertical preference here. So the statue does move towards V-throw. I think that's kind of a fun thing. So yeah, if I step south here, the statue does move east. It doesn't line up with my sword. And so I do have to stab it now in order to stop it from approaching. All right. I see some more questions. How do brains affect all monsters? Brains do not affect any of the Leaf's Odyssey monsters. I don't know if they can at all. There might be a way if I use like beelining, if I set like the imperative for beelining, but the thing is the monsters in Leaf's Odyssey don't move by normal, they don't move by normal rules. So brains don't affect these monsters. Yeah, good question. In a situation where an angry eye is going to hit the flat part of mud, will it destroy that part? Okay, since that's continuously coming up, let's just show that up off right now. So if I have mud here and I step in front of it, yes, you can destroy the flat part of mud with an angry eye beam. If you can, you should be able to add. You should add something like maybe bomb bugs don't get affected by monster blocks. What do you mean? That wouldn't be accurate to the actual base game. You think that's weird, but the ray gun works this way too. The ray gun has the same sort of explosive property. So the ray gun would also pierce through tar stuff at any angle, on any surface. Yeah, it's basically a copy of the ray gun code, but with some additional adornments. So yeah, on the topic of stuff that doesn't work, anything to do with mimics, mimics, stalwarts, guards, anything that has like a sword or a weapon, that doesn't work with, I think, just I don't know. I think monster blocks should be fine. Monster blocks will be fine. It doesn't work with the statue or the bomb bug, and that's because those monsters are marked invulnerable. This is a technical limitation. So yeah, they also have this death controller to detect when the room is clear. Basically, if you mark a monster as invulnerable, you have to manually check all the conditions where that monster should die. And that's kind of how I have to do the rubble too, because there's no way to actually detect if you leave a monster vulnerable and Bithos makes a sword kill on that monster. That monster doesn't exist anymore, so it can't actually run its script. It doesn't have a chance to run its script. And so you can't detect when a monster has died. Or you can detect if a monster has died in general in the entire room, but you can't detect if like this particular monster has died. So I had to actually manually implement like checking if like Bithro is here and his sword is facing this way, then turn the monster into rubble. There's a bunch of cases that don't work because of other entities using weapons, and part of the reason for that is because we have to do stuff like generate entities. There's a little bit of smoke and mirrors involved here. Anytime you generate an entity, like I said, you can't generate it on top of a sword. So if a statue were to be stabbed by a guard, normally, if it was stabbed by Bithro or a guard carrying like a stick or something like that instead of a sword, then that weapon would block the spawn location for like the awakened statue if I were to wake up the statue on the same turn. There's a bunch of weird edge cases like that. So yeah, weapons don't generally work. There's also isn't a variable for checking what weapon is in Bithro's hands currently. If I want to do that kind of thing, I'd have to add like a script that assumes that Bithro is starting the room with a sword. I'd have to basically add like a whole bunch of additional assumptions to the project. And if I wanted to switch weapons for Bithro, I would have to add like a custom weapon token. So I'd have to not use the vanilla weapon tokens. I'd have to basically script my own weapon token that basically does the same thing as these, but like set some kind of global variable as well. It's really annoying. It's kind of janky. If you've ever seen custom weapon tokens in other holds, they also do the same thing. They don't use this. They don't use these weapon tokens. They create custom ones. They script their own, which is, in my opinion, kind of ridiculous, but that's just the nature of DROD script. Oh, you think that bomb bugs should not be affected by monster blocks because of the brain. They get smarter, and they shouldn't run away from them if there's one in the room. Oh! I mean, I might be able to add something like that. Maybe. I'm not really... I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. I feel like that's just an innate part of their nature. They just want to run away. They want to run away from the monster blocks no matter what. Like, I don't know. You think brains should affect bomb bugs pretty majorly? See, I don't know. I don't know about that. Maybe we ask we ask Alex what he thinks should happen if a bomb bug encountered a brain. Would the brain be able to like reach into the bomb bug's head and mess with its wiring? Like, does it have the capability to do that, or does it only do that with DROD monsters? I mean, being realistic here, I'm not really sure how easy it is to do that, or if that's possible. I guess I could just check for the presence of a brain in the room. Yeah, I guess that would be possible to like alter pathing based on the presence of a brain. I could definitely do that. But yeah, it would require a whole bunch more scripting, and the elements already are pretty laggy as it is. When you try to undo, at least. I had to do a whole bunch of crazy optimizations to make stuff work. But yeah, that is a bit of a thing. I can show off, what is it? Where's bomb bugs? Here. Let me show off bomb bugs with speed potions real quick. So bomb bugs are a little bit weird with speed potions. Okay, well, they're a little bit weird when they're fleeing from monster blocks, because they, like, move while they're in their priming state. But I guess that kind of works. That's okay. Invisibility, like I said, stealth doesn't work. They'll still see you, no matter what. So yeah, that's another thing that doesn't work. Right. Bombs don't kill bomb bugs. There's no way to detect an explosion because explosions... The thing about explosions is that they can have different shapes depending on circumstances. And there's no real feasible way to like check every single combination without blowing up your PC. So yeah, a bomb explosion will not kill a bomb bug. It also won't kill a statue. So conventional explosives don't affect the monsters that are marked invulnerable. I think that's basically it. So yeah, those are the main limitations, which is... It's quite a few limitations, but unfortunately, there's only so much I can do. Unless there are improvements made to DROD script itself in the future, I can't really do anything about that. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to show off for the main showcase. So I'll be answering some more questions. What would Monster Block Brain then? Or what would Monster Block Brain do then? I don't know. I'm not really sure how monster blocks and brains would interact at all. I mean, these are things that I could implement. I just don't know if I want to. The thing about implementing those kinds of interactions is that it's just very tricky. Because I have to kind of balance performance with functionality. All right, so let's go through some of the questions that I've got from before. So question number 1 is, will Leaf be playable in this hold? I actually don't have an implemented Leaf entity at all. That was never part of the original plan for this project. So currently the answer is no, but maybe in the future. It's sort of a stretch goal, I guess. Someone did mention in the Discord about goblins. Like, there's a playable goblin. I think it's actually in the City Beneath. There's a section where you can play as a goblin. And it moves, or it behaves a lot like a Leaf would, where you have to like bump monsters to kill them. So I think it's probably doable. Like, I think it is very doable. To implement Leaf as like a playable character. I don't think it'd be like the most exciting thing in the world. Just like a character that moves in 4 directions and has to bump everything to kill them. But I mean, probably can do that at some point. But yeah, I'm not going to say that that's like a major goal of the project or anything like that. And if I do add it, it'll be like a nice little bonus. But I do think that it is quite probable I will be able to add Leaf. The next question is, will there be further DROD and Leaf's Odyssey music remixes? Right, so if you watched the trailer that I showed off, yeah, I showed off a remix of Iceworks with, I think it was it Marble? I think it was Marble from Leaf's Odyssey. And so the story behind that one is actually pretty interesting. I was just thinking about like, what would be a really cool song for like the trailer? And I was thinking like, I wanted to like incorporate elements of like both Leaf's Odyssey and DROD to kind of show that this is like a crossover kind of thing. And so I was like, okay, what if I like remixed 2 of their songs together? And I was kind of going through the list in my head and seeing like what combinations worked. And like Marble and Iceworks kind of struck me as being like in a sort of similar key. And so I thought, okay, those songs will probably work well together. And then I literally just overlaid them. And they have the exact same BPM. I don't know why, they just do. They have the exact same BPM. And so what you have is literally just me layering one song on top of the other. And it actually sounds kind of okay. There's a part a little bit later in the Iceworks song that doesn't sound so great with Marble, which is why the trailer cuts off where it does. I wasn't going to like cut and remix stuff too much there, but yeah, I did that just for the trailer. I wasn't going to add any actual remixes to the hold itself. I'm not a musician, really. I mean, like I can play some instruments and stuff, but I don't really know how to work a DAW particularly well. So yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to help contribute remixes to the project, then like, yeah, totally, like hit me up. I'd be happy to include any like Leaf's Odyssey DROD remixes if you come up with some, but as it stands, I do not know enough about music to be doing stuff like that. So I think the actual hold itself will probably just have like Leaf's Odyssey music or some DROD music. Learn music theory? Yeah, I probably should at some point, shouldn't I? But yeah, no remixes, sorry. Well, unless people want to contribute remixes. I am too stupid. I'm too stupid to do that. Alright. Next question. In earlier streams, you mentioned encountering issues during Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the project. What are those phases, and what went wrong? Okay. So Phase 1 was me working on the compiler. So if you're not aware, this project basically doesn't use DRODscript directly. If you actually, I can kind of show that off here, I think. Let me just click on you. What are you? You're a bomb bug, right? Yeah, so if you look at the bomb bug script, you can see that there's a lot of code here. It kind of bleeds off the page even. I definitely did not implement any of this using just the UI. I'll tell you that much. There's a lot of these like intermediary variables here that don't need to exist. And this is because the compiler doesn't have an optimization pass. But yeah, this stuff is all just because I wrote this with a compiler. It took me like close to 4 months just to implement like the base compiler. And so that was what Phase 1 was just like fixing compiler bugs. Major problems with the compiler that I should talk about. Number 1 is I implemented my compiler assuming that there was recursion support in DROD. There isn't really actually recursion in DROD. I mean, you can have a label that you just jump to repeatedly and infinitely. So like you can infinitely, go to the same label. But there's actually something really weird about DRODscript that is kind of subtle. So Wait, hold on. Let me just quickly make an entity here to show it off. So we have labels. We have goto. We have go sub. So go sub lets you jump to a particular subroutine. So if I have a label, let's call this one main, and then I add a go sub command to jump to this label. What's interesting is if I use return, like this, it'll actually store the labels in a stack. So you can kind of emulate functions, right? You sort of have like a call stack. Every time you call a function, it pushes a new stack frame onto the call stack. And then when you see a return statement, it'll actually pop that frame off of the stack. So it behaves a lot like a conventional programming language. However, and this is where things fall apart, the only way to set a variable is through set var. You can only assign variables. So you don't actually have a proper stack frame like you would in most programming languages. So, for example, if I wanted to pass arguments to a function, normally, if you're running this in like, x86 assembly or whatever dialect of assembly you like, you'd push your arguments onto a stack, and then you'd like increment some kind of like stack pointer register, and that would allow you to store those variables for that stack frame, and then later when you return, you would just basically move the stack pointer. There is no stack for variables. In fact, you can emulate one if you want to with a bunch of like if-else's, but yeah, that's kind of impractical for another reason that I'm going to talk about in a second here. Like, that's extremely impractical. But because you can't actually store your variables in like a call stack, because they don't get pushed onto a stack. If there was like a push variable, that would be huge. That would pair really well with go sub. But yeah, without some kind of push var, you actually can't even do recursion, because if you write even like a basic Fibonacci or factorial function in DROD script, you'll start to see weird results because all you're doing is clobbering values. And this is something that tripped me up very early on when I was writing the compiler. I had assumed that there would be recursion in the language, and there is no recursion, which is really funny. It's really funny because I actually based my language off of the kappa calculus. So I implemented a bidirectional type checker for my compiler. I can probably show that off, actually, if I switch over to the other window here. Where is it? Here we go. Yeah, so if we just go into source here, we can see I have a type checker here. I also blew up the text size, so it'd be a lot easier to see everything. Oh, yeah, here's all the various commands. So I actually implemented kappa calculus, and what's interesting about kappa calculus is that it's similar to like the simply typed lambda calculus, in that it's not actually Turing complete. Like it's if you don't extend it with the Y combinator or some kind of like fixed point, or in this case, I added top level function definitions. So you have like named functions. You actually don't have recursion anyway. So it kind of works out nicely in that way, except I added top level definitions because that's just more convenient. So, so it still had recursion. And so then I was like, well, shoot, I have to get rid of recursion. And so I added this. So when it comes across a function name that it has already come across, so I have this def names vector here that just tracks, it's basically like a visited list. If you've ever done like a Dijkstra's algorithm implementation, it's kind of like that. But yeah, basically this just checks if we have called this function before within this chain of function calls, and then it errors out. So I actually had to manually add a recursion checker. And this is baked into the type checker, by the way. So bad, so terrible. I should not implement stuff like this, but this is how I did it. I didn't want to add another pass because if we want to minimize the number of passes we do over the AST because that's just going to slow down our program so much. But yeah, that's that's the type checker. That's what that spoiler was in QOTI. Yes. So actually, let me see. Maybe I can even pull it up here. Do I still have it? I should. I have like a design doc. Let me see. Can I pop open good old Paint? I sure can. All right. Yeah, you all remember this, right? These are the type checking rules. These are the type checking rules for the kappa calculus, but written out bidirectionally. So if you look on Wikipedia at the kappa calculus doesn't have bidirectional type checking rules anywhere. Nobody's actually ever, as far as I know, recorded or written bidirectional rules for for type checking kappa calculus. I actually had to write all of these myself. So yeah, I basically came up with the bidirectional rules for kappa calculus. This is the kind of stuff that you'd probably see in like a white paper typically, but hey, I don't have a master's, I don't have a PhD. I just do this kind of stuff for fun. So yeah, this is roughly kind of based off of what is it? There's like a bidirectional type checker written for this Oregon Programming Language Summer School course for implementing dependent types or implementing type theory. And they basically implement some like variant of like Martin Lerf type theory. And so I just took that type checker and I kind of just adapted the rules a little bit to work a little bit better with the kappa calculus. These may not be 100% correct, by the way. Like I said, I'm not a mathematician. I don't study type theory on the regular. This is kind of what I do as like a hobby. But I think these rules are fairly accurate for the most part. This isn't a complete set of rules because obviously if I wanted to completely specify all the typing rules for my language, I'd have to include like all the DROD instructions as well, and they have their own inference rules. So yeah, this language does have type inference. It has type inference. There's also like a checking mode as well. But yeah, I can probably show that off here actually. So if I go into some of these scripts, like let's go to Angry Eye. Don't look at the repo, it's ugly. The repo is terrible. I just kind of threw all my files all over the place. Let's see, are there any let statements, let binds? Yeah, see, look at ydist here. So ydist doesn't have a type annotation. I could annotate the type here, but I actually have proper type inference. So you don't actually have to annotate the type here, as long as the type of the thing on the right-hand side of the assignment operator can be unambiguously inferred, then it will infer the type for the argument. I just think this is super cool. I didn't implement unification, so not everything is inferable. There are certain terms that are not. Obviously, I implemented a bidirectional type checker, so yeah, I didn't do HM style type inference. So yeah. So you do have to annotate your functions with type signatures. Like if I wanted to, I could add like an argument here that's an integer and add like a return type int as well. Like you could do that kind of stuff, but you do have to annotate all of your functions with type signatures of some sort. This one just takes unit and returns unit. Again, I'm implementing type theory here. We're not doing what a lot of the more conventional programming languages use, where they have like a void type. I don't really like that because it's not very principled. So I kind of followed the approach that like Haskell and Rust tend to use, which is a little bit more type theoretic, but ultimately a lot more principled and just works out a lot more nicely. So yeah. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about technical details. I think that might get a little bit boring. I can already see people's eyes glazing over in the audience. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't want to dive too much into that right now. I'll probably talk about that more on the other channel, um, or in a video series. I'll dive into some of the technical aspects. I had to do a bunch of like interesting engineering to make certain things work, like explosion chaining, angry eyes being able to shoot each other. But I think that kind of discussion is better saved for another talk, something a little bit more technical. So yeah, that's phase 1. Phase 2 was implementing the actual monster. So I was actually writing the scripts for the monsters. Some of the problems that I ran into there. Okay, so before I dive into that, take a wild guess. I'll give you like 5 seconds here. But like, take a wild guess. Which monster was the hardest to implement, you think? Which monster took the most effort? Which one had the most problems? Which one did I have the most trouble implementing of these 6 monsters? Take a wild guess. Oh, you're back? See, I knew it! People are gonna check out when I get into the technical details of my project. Anyway, yeah, take a wild guess. Which monster do you think was the hardest monster to implement? I'll give you like 5 more seconds here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, no guesses? That's fine. So the hardest monster to implement was not the monster block, not the bomb bug, although the bomb bug was kind of a pain in the ass. But actually it was the angry eye. The angry eye was the hardest monster to implement, and you would not understand why. You think it's bomb bugs? Okay, we do have a guess in chat. Okay, yeah, no, it wasn't the bomb bugs, despite the bomb bugs being on the trickier side. The bomb bugs were definitely tricky, but it was the angry eyes. And the reason why it's the angry eyes is ridiculously silly, because the thing is, when you do a check for each tile to check if the laser should stop, that's a very expensive check that you have to do. I have to check for things like rubble. I have to check for things like walls, hard walls, orbs, doors of various kinds. And that's actually very, very expensive. So the thing is, DROD script actually kills your script after you hit a certain number of instructions executed. Or it's either instructions executed or conditions checked. I'm not really sure. But I was hitting some kind of limit. And so the actual code for the lasers has to create a new laser every 10 steps. Because I was hitting this weird limit where a single entity cannot check more than, like, I don't know, X number of checks. And then my script was just magically dying. There's 0 debug information when that happens. You have no idea it's happening. So what would happen is the angry eye would see me, I would step away, and then the angry eye would just go back to being idle. And there would be no laser, no one died, nothing happened. And it was proportional to distance, too. Like, if I had a wall close to the eye, it would work just fine, because it cuts off the number of checks it has to do. But if I have the wall way on the other side of the room, then it has to check all of these tiles, and then it will die somewhere midway. And I had no idea that it was dying. So the angry eye was by far the hardest monster to implement, because I spent 2 full days trying to figure out what was wrong with my script. I was like, is this a bug in the compiler? Is this a bug in code gen? Is this a bug, you know, in my logic, in the actual scripts? No, there was nothing wrong with my business logic whatsoever. The problem was just that it was hitting some magic arbitrary number, and then it was just dying. And so I had the idea that, okay, well, if that's the problem, then why not spawn more entities? Because, like, after all, we've seen with poison that you can spawn quite a bit of poison. These are all separate entities, and that's totally fine. Well, it turns out that if you spawn an entity and then that entity spawns another entity, and that entity spawns another entity, like, you know, like the Matryoshka nested Russian dolls. There's a recursion limit of 3 for generating entities. I can generate up to 3 lasers that way, and then that's it, and then it stops. So I can't have a laser that generates another laser at the tip of the laser, because I have to be able to, you know, go more than like the 10 tiles. I have to be able to go all the way across the room. So the solution is to have a laser controller entity that you can send messages to. So basically, I implemented a message passing paradigm on top of DROD script, because DROD script, the only way to communicate between entities is through global variables. So I basically created an basically like a pi calculus implementation, or like an actor-based model on top of DROD, or that's the way that I think about it, like abstractly. And so a laser will send a message to the laser controller, and the laser controller will generate a new entity, and then that laser can do its checks, and then send another message back to the laser controller, and the laser controller will then generate another entity. And so then there's no nesting. That's how we lose the nesting. And then I can generate as many lasers as I want back and forth, whether they're reflected or not. And yeah, it's crazy. I also had to use that same technique for slugs, because there was a bug where if a slug moved and a roach stepped into that space where the slug was, it would not die to the poison that got generated, because when an entity generates in this game, it runs its script immediately to initialize it. But if you do a wait command in DROD is kind of like, it's a little bit like cooperative multitasking in concurrent programming. Basically, you have to explicitly yield control and suspend execution so that other entities can run, other scripts, other like threads can run. So yeah, basically you can do a wait when you generate the entity, but it actually passes your turn entirely when you do that. So I can't create a poison entity without it executing immediately to completion before checking, before the slug has moved off of its tile. And that would kill the slug, and that actually crashed DROD several times. So I actually know, I actually have a bug that I probably should report in DROD script that crashes DROD. But yeah, if you do like a wait to try and pass your turn and yield control to another entity, that actually completely stops the turn. And so then if the roach moves onto the tile with the poison trail has already passed its turn, and so it doesn't attempt to kill the roach. And so I created a poison controller entity that takes messages, poison messages, that are sent from slug entities to poison particular tiles. That poison controller is initialized at the start of the room, and it's persistent, it's global for that room. And so anytime it receives a notification, it can create the poison the poison trail entity late in the turn order. So yeah, lots of black magic used to create this. It was a lot trickier to get like the turn order interactions correct. It was very hard to do that sort of thing. You want to show the script for those? Oh, you want me to show the script for those? Okay. All right. So yeah, so you can see this is the mailbox for the laser controller. It's really long. So basically, I'm pre-allocating a buffer of size 100. So there is actually a limit on how many lasers you can have in a room. But practically speaking, you're never going to have like over 100 lasers. So this is how I did it. This is basically how the messages are defined. I would love to have like algebraic data types, so I could encode this a little bit more compactly and more type safe. But the way that it is, I just set 3 integers per mailbox slot. Actually, no, I set 4 because I also have the type here. And yeah, anytime you want to like send a message, you have to iterate over the message box. and it's like a linear. Well, I mean, if you're iterating over messages, that's always going to be a big O of n time complexity. My algorithm for this is actually a little bit less efficient because I think my process messages function is like really bad. I can't remember. Is it in this? It's probably not in this at all. Let's see. Can I even look up process? Where is it? There's. I'm trying to find stuff, but like I blew up the font size so much that I can't even see my search. It might not be in this script in particular. Let me just shrink the. This is kind of annoying. Font size. Let's go back to, what was it, 14? That's what the default was. Yeah. Pattern not found while. I don't have any while loops. Oh, do I have a loop? I have a regular loop. Oh, this is the angry eye. Sorry, this is not the laser controller. That's the angry eye. So that's the logic for sending messages. The laser controller looks like this. So I have a while loop. There's no arrays in DROD script, so this is sort of like a pseudo array. I'm treating it as a queue, actually, because that's how message passing paradigms typically work. And basically, whenever you want to fire a laser from an angry eye, it basically sends like an event over a channel, effectively, to this laser controller. But yeah, this loop loops over the length of the mailbox. And then for each message, it has to do this ugly check. I think this is like an O of n squared algorithm, which is kind of gross. There is a way to actually optimize this and make this a lot faster and just make it a linear, iterative solution, which is something that I will have to do at some point. That would actually help a lot in cases where you have a lot of lasers being fired on a single turn. But this works. Generally speaking, if you are doing this sort of like linear search, or like if you're just kind of like, going over messages in your mailbox one at a time, it's pretty fast because usually not a lot of lasers are fired in a single turn. Like, if you really think about it, there's only like that one plus shaped pattern in the room that you have to worry about. Originating from Leaf and Leaf's position. Because, yeah, none of the other angry eyes in the room will fire their lasers unless they actually can see Leaf. So not too many lasers are going to be fired in a single turn. And so iterating through this mailbox generally is very fast. You most certainly will not be seeing like 100 lasers in a room on any given turn. And the mailbox does actually reset itself every turn. It does empty. And I also have like a flashing message that shows up if you get like a buffer overflow, basically. What if more than what if more than one eye sees B throw? Yeah, so if more than one eye sees B throw, both eyes will send messages. And so if you have like an entire row full of eyes and they're all shooting at B throw, then yeah, this queue will start to fill up relatively quickly. But I suspect that most people aren't gonna put like tons of eyes in a row all shooting at the same time. I mean, I can see a few scenarios where that might happen. But certainly not like, the case that I don't expect a lot of people to be doing is putting B throw in the center of the room and putting eyes like all the way up here, all the way here, all the way down, and then all the way west. Sorry, I didn't switch scenes. I should demonstrate that a little bit better. Hold on. I mean, like, if I put B throw right in the center of this room and I put eyes all the way going this way and this way and this way and this way, like, having just a full row of eyes is not that big of a deal because that's only, what, at most 37 eyes, not including the position of B throw, right? So they can all shoot in one direction and, like, that fits within the size of our queue. But yeah, you have too many eyes firing from like all different directions, then of course that's not going to work too well. But I also don't really see why you would do that. or ever design a room like that. It'd also probably lag the game a lot, so don't do that, please. Test it? Okay. You want me to test this? I mean, we should test some stuff. How does this work? All right, I don't want to... Yeah, this is kind of problematic. Hang on, let me do... Oops. All right, what does this look like? Oof, very laggy. Actually, I think the script's died. Hold on. Actually, it's skipping turns. It's skipping a turn. It's lagging so bad that it actually skips a turn when I try to tap the button. I'm trying to tap that as lightly as possible. It skipped a turn. Yeah, you don't even see the lasers because it goes so fast. Yeah, that's really bad for performance. We definitely don't want to do that. Yeah, don't be doing things like that. Yeah. That's how laggy it gets. Yeah, it's not good. Anyway. Yeah, that's all that I wanted to say about that. Next question, and the last question for today, is will you be bootstrapping your compiler? I think the obvious answer is, well, the answer is no. The answer is no, I'm not bootstrapping the compiler. The reason why should be fairly apparent. I don't have a runtime. This DROD is my runtime. Okay, DROD is the runtime for this language. So yeah, there isn't really a way for me to feasibly write a compiler because DROD can't like output text. It can't output an executable. It can't output stuff. I mean, you can do some programming in DROD, but like it only affects stuff in the game, obviously. However, I do have plans to try to take this language further and, you know, maybe experiment with it more. Obviously, the Kappa calculus is a pretty weird choice. It's kind of my main motivation for working on this too. It's just like it's weird. I like working on weird and strange projects that and kind of exploring territory that other people haven't. Mostly because like it's uninteresting, like in terms of like meta-theoretic properties. Like I think Kappa calculus isn't even confluent, if I remember correctly, which kind of sucks. But at the same time, like you can make practical languages even if they don't have like great meta-theoretic properties. Like a lot of enterprise programming languages have terrible meta-theoretic properties. Like Java's type system isn't even sound. And yet, you know, people create lots of software with these languages. So yeah, not everything has to be by the book. Not everything has to be so, you know, perfectly theoretical. And you can still get a lot of value out of things that way. So yeah, I kind of want to try taking this language further. According to the Wikipedia article, you can like tack on like substructural typings. Like you can do like a substructural type system, like a linear typing. You can also do dependent typing with Kappa calculus. Apparently that's compatible, and I'm super interested in that. So I might extend it with those features, and then I might try to make an actual programming language out of this, like compile down to LLVM-IR. Or I guess in a worst case scenario, I could also compile to like Shea scheme, do like the Idris thing, do like something more like a functional programming runtime. But yeah, that's sort of a more technical question. Sort of out of the scope of like DROD and like DROD scripting specific aspects and qualities. So I don't want to talk too much about that. I might make more videos about that sort of stuff later, but yeah, that's more like main channel type content than gaming channel stuff. How will people install this mod? Good question. So, as far as I know, you can just export. So if I just go here, I can just like do change location. I can click export hold, and then I can just export it. And then I have a .hold file. And if you have just like even the DROD 5 demo, like the free demo, you can just import the hold, and you should be able to just play it. Another question: will you be voice acting anything? I don't know. I think it would be really cool to have voice acting for like B-throw in this hold. I don't know if I myself will be able to do that. Or I mean, like, yeah, I could obviously like say some lines for some character or something like that. I don't think I'd ever try to voice B-throw. There might not be any voice acting at all. It kind of depends. Yeah, I definitely need to look into like, will other people be willing to help out with this thing and, you know, pitch in, do some voice acting. I also am not like super big on the idea of like self-inserting. There is like a sort of archetype in like Fire Emblem ROM hacking called the Shadow Lord, where like if you make a ROM hack, like almost always the hack author puts in some kind of like self-insert, and they're like some kind of like edgy, kind of cringy character that's kind of just randomly inserted. Like maybe they're making like a Fire Emblem 7 balance patch, and then for some reason they had to add a new character that is like their original character. It's sort of like a self-insert, and it just feels very like out of place kind of thing. I don't want to do that kind of thing. I feel like I don't want to create like my own Shadow Lord archetype type of character in DROD. In any kind of DROD hold or any of my work that I do. Like, I'm not too interested in like self-inserting myself. It's just, yeah. It's a little bit narcissistic, I guess. What is the lore for this world? Or sorry, hold, I guess. It's not a world. I don't know if I want to answer that. I'm not sure if I want to answer that right now. Yeah. I'm gonna hold off on answering that one because, like, so we have Tower of Destiny here. This is just the beginnings of Tower of Destiny. It's not like the full thing. I did want to show off a little bit of this. But yeah, basically you start off here. Yeah, there's like a sign there. And then you run across like the flying snakes and stuff. And you go into the snake pit here. But I guess there'd have to be like a lore reason for why B-throw is at the Tower of Destiny. I do have an idea for what I want to do there. Like why did Leaf, or sorry, not Leaf, why did B-throw go to the Tower of Destiny? Why are there like other kinds of monsters there too? Like I think if I come up to this room, yeah, you'll see that there are like some seep here. So you got some like DROD monsters here. So yeah, I'm gonna have to explain like a whole bunch of things. I have an idea for that. And it is kind of inspired a little bit by what some of the other Leaf's Odyssey worlds have been doing. At least like story-wise. But yeah, I don't really want to get too into that. I guess I will show one thing that was kind of funny about this room is that this room is actually impossible unless you add something to this. So this is just like a really basic Leaf's Odyssey room from Tower of Destiny. Everything's so far so good, and then you get here, and then there's no way to survive this situation. Like, yeah, you just can't turn your sword fast enough. Like I tried like every kind of sword orientation I could think of, and this is just impossible. You die no matter what. And so I had to add this dagger token here. I don't know. It felt like the only thing I could really do to make this room work. But yeah, that's something that's kind of silly about this. But yeah, like I said, yeah, this is the room from the trailer. largely unchanged. I think I changed the floor type. But yeah, that was just to try and mesh the Leafs Odyssey Tower of Destiny a little bit better. And so I think it accomplishes that pretty well. But yeah, that's kind of all I have. Oh, I guess there is this. So we have this room here, pretty basic one. I thought it would be kind of fun to maybe do something like this, where you have like these skulls that are basically Leaf's journal. So you're like finding the pages of Leaf's journal. They're like scattered around the world, and that's how you learn about the monsters as well. So I don't know, I think that's kind of cool. Leaf says collect my pages. But yeah, that's yeah, that's something that I think might be cool. I might delete this scroll later. I don't know what I'm doing yet. But yeah, that's where you guys come in. If you guys want, you can like contribute your ideas. If you have ideas for like how this hold should be structured, or if you have ideas for puzzles, if you want to like play with the elements yourself, like you can DM me on Discord and or just like leave a comment or something, and we can try and like figure out something there. But yeah, ideally just DM me on Discord, and I will hook you up with the hold, and you can play with the custom elements. And you can make puzzles. You can help me make puzzles if you want. Otherwise, I'm just gonna try and make all the puzzles myself, because I don't really want to like wait around for other people to do stuff. Like relying on other people, not really super interesting to me. But if anyone's interested and they'd be willing to help make puzzles, or if they have ideas for puzzles that they think would be really cool to implement in Leaf's DRODyssey, then yeah, I am accepting contributions. Sorry, let me read this. Yeah, that's why I couldn't solve it. It was impossible. When will roaches and snakes be in the same room? They can be in the same room at any time. I could easily do that even here. Like, there's nothing wrong with the roach flying snake interaction, because flying snakes are the simplest monster by far. They have no weird behaviors that I know of. So yeah, roaches and snakes interact just fine. Nothing wrong with that. You got an idea? Okay. You know how statues can be used to make stepping stones in deep water? Yes. I know about that. What is your idea though? You can't just like leave me hanging there. I'm gonna read your message and then go back to playing the game. So I mean, you can't. You kind of need to type out the full thing. But yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today. I might go around and ask people if they would like to contribute to this project in small ways here and there, if they're interested. Obviously, I know lots of people are busy. They don't have time to play around with DROD, especially not a project that they didn't come up with and probably, you know, didn't allocate time for. But we'll see. I might just end up making everything myself here. I don't know if there's gonna be more than just like the Tower of Destiny. Obviously, I can't implement all of Tower of Destiny because there are certain elements that literally are impossible to implement. Like for example, I don't have like tall grass. I don't have elevation mechanics. That's another thing that doesn't exist. There was one more question that I was asked that I really wanted to address, and that was about block pushing on ice. So there is thin ice in DROD, but yeah, you can't ice slide things. And the reason for this is because you can't detect push direction in DROD. And I know like you're thinking, oh, that's easy, just store the previous position of the block and then do like a subtraction, right? Like do like a vector subtraction. You can easily figure it out. Well, not so fast. Because if I do a multi-push, let's say that we have like a whole bunch of different entities with like swords and whatnot here, and I do like a push like this, and it comes all the way around and ends up here. If I do that vector push idea, now it thinks it's moving east, even though I just pushed it north. And I could do some kind of like check for like sword orientations and stuff, and who was the last person to push it. It's really complicated, okay? That's extremely complicated. Secondly, the way that monster block is defined is the monster block actually moves very late in the turn order, which is the opposite of how it works in Leaf's Odyssey. So in Leaf's Odyssey, blocks move first before monsters. Here, the blocks move after monsters. And the only reason why they're allowed to do that is because of the lack of ice sliding. And the reason why I did it this way is because there's a bunch of things that need to happen later after all the other monsters have moved, such as, you know, detecting like, if you've gotten burned by hot tiles, if you've been like pushed by explosions, right? Explosions happen after monsters move, or like bomb bug explosions do, at least. So by necessity, I have to have monster blocks move after other monsters. And you might be thinking, okay, but isn't there a workaround for that? Couldn't I like disappear the monster block and then generate a new monster block that's like a different entity type and call that like sliding monster block, and then have that like transform back into a monster block before the end of the turn? And the answer to that is like maybe you can do some like disappear appear shenanigans, but certainly not like generate destroy, because like if you try to generate an entity and then imperative die kill it on the same turn as it generates, the imperative die will wait, and you'll get the same problem as like the hang time problem I had here. So that doesn't work. So basically, in short, thin ice and ice sliding is extremely complicated, would probably require a lot more code. As you already know, running code imposes on our limit, our instruction limit, the one that we ran into multiple times with Angry Eyes. And so I'm a little bit worried every time I touch anything related to DRODscript that I'm gonna hit my limit. And I'm not gonna be able, and my script is just gonna die. I'm not gonna be able to check any more tiles, I'm not gonna be able to do any more logic. There's also the problem of lag. We've already seen that if I put a lot of Angry Eyes in a room and have them all shoot a beam, it lags the game so badly that it skips a turn no matter how lightly I tap the arrow keys. So yeah, I don't want to do too much checking, right? We don't want to add too much functionality, otherwise DROD will literally crap itself. So yeah, let's try and keep things a little bit simpler. Mirrors in DROD don't slide on ice anyway. I'm just gonna say DROD ice isn't very slippery. I don't know. Sorry. I don't have a great excuse for why it can't slide other than technical reasons. I mean, if someone wants to implement that kind of ice sliding fully and send me the algorithm and a plan for how to incorporate that into the existing monster block scripts, then sure, I'd be happy to give it a try. But I don't think that's going to happen, so don't expect it. What if you use those, but to get to a secret room, you use that interaction to build to a secret island? Sure? Yeah? Yeah, you could do that. I mean, I could do that. I'm not sure how many secret rooms there are going to be, because yeah, Leaf's Odyssey, Tower of Destiny doesn't have secret rooms at all. So yeah, probably not going to do that. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. I'm going to do some more videos on the channel soon. Well, not like super soon. I don't have anything like currently lined up, but I have a lot of ideas for videos I want to make. So I will be doing like a monster spotlight to talk about each of these monsters and actually dive in more technical detail into how they were implemented, what some of the challenges were, what that process was like. And so you can expect those videos to go up on this channel. Compiler related stuff, that's probably going to go up on the main channel. I do already have a talk lined up there for one topic that I wanted to discuss. But I think that is going to do it for today. Tier list when? You've beaten Pat's World. Yeah, I need to get around to... Well, I'm not doing a tier list. I'm going to do like a world recommendation video for people who may have bought the game recently for like the holiday season or received it as a gift. So yeah, I will do that video at some point soon. Probably, okay, I will prioritize that video over the videos here for the Leafs DRODyssey because I did promise I was going to do that a while back. So yeah, that will be coming out probably sooner. Don't worry, I will do it. You can hold me to that. I will actually do it. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for all the questions, to everyone who submitted questions. I very much appreciate that. And yeah, if you're interested in the project, if you're interested in like playing around with these elements, or you have any other like suggestions, ideas, or if you just want to like help test rooms and stuff like that, then yeah, feel free to hit me up. Otherwise, I might hit you up. If I think that you are an excellent puzzle designer and I'd like your help, I might hit you up. And of course, feel free to say no. All right, that's it. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.